I woke up, I was $1 million in debt. It was like a World War I victim where they get shell shocked.
Burnout is not a work problem. It's not that we're working over hours and working crazy hours and hence the body and us are burning out. It is an identity problem.
I look back at my identity. In my head, I was already a millionaire. In my head, I had already sold my business. In my head, I was this successful founder.
If you cooked for them every day, you're expected to cook every day. Now they're going to say, why am I cooking?
How are you diagnosing or recognizing early symptoms? Welcome to Outsource to Profits. I have a fantastic guest. Kiran, do you mind describing who you are, what you do, and how you serve the world?
I'm Kiran Mann. I'm a CEO of Brar, a Canadian food manufacturing and restaurant chain, and founder of M2M Business Solution. That is a consulting and advisory firm. And what I do, I like filling the gaps by helping the leaders to bridge the gap between business success and human fulfillment.
Fantastic. Now, today is an interesting topic because we're both CEOs, and I'm assuming you probably felt this before. The topic is burnout. And you have an interesting idea as to why burnout happens. It's not about working 100-hour work weeks. It's around identity. And when you said that, it struck a nerve. The first time I remember getting burnt out, well, I got shingles from and it's happened many times since then, but I've learned to recognize when it's coming. And I'll talk more about the recognition of it and how to prevent it. But my first agency, I grew it rapidly, and we got approached for our first acquisition. Now, I had a business partner. So I was in my late 30s then. My business partner was 51 at the time. And an acquisition came in for 10 million USD, and it got negotiated down to like 6 million USD. He was very unhappy with the deal. I was very happy with the deal. I was mid 30s. I was going to become a multimillionaire, use my capital gains exemption clause. I'm a Canadian as well. And the deal fell apart. And a year later after that, we ran into a financial problem. We were spending more than we were making. And I woke up, I was $1 million in debt, and it was like a World War I victim where they get shell shocked. I literally couldn't even talk. I was white as a ghost. That was my first experience with it. And it's because I think now that you said what you said, I look back at my identity. In my head, I was already a millionaire. In my head, I had already sold my business. In my head, I was this successful founder that was in Profit Magazine and Canadian Business Magazine. And these are the version of Inc. magazine to Americans. But it didn't get fulfilled. And so, in your opinion, can you describe where burnout comes from? You and I were talking offline about this. Where does burnout come from at the identity level, not the cranking out work level?
I think you gave a very different perspective too, so I would love to speak on that. But as a general, I personally have been studying on this topic for a bunch of years now and applied on myself to be the first scapegoat to test it out. Is that burnout is not a work problem. It's not that we're working over hours and working crazy hours and hence the body and us are burning out. It is an identity problem. It is because we play different roles, and every role we have set an expectation of what we want to deliver, how we want to serve, how we want to perform, how we want to provide. And by the time we have all these bunch of roles in front of us, we get lost because now you're trying to serve every role. And every day people wake up stressed, thinking, I have this on my plate. I got to do this. I got to do this. Then you think about all the things you have to do for work. And then somebody calls from home that, oh, did you forget to pick up this grocery? Oh, did you forget to do this for your child? So now you have those roles coming up in you, and you get buried playing all these roles. And you forget that under all these different identities that we have created in this physical world, there is me, myself, and I. And that me, myself, and I goes into the back seat to, I don't know, the trunk, or we throw it on the highway. It gets lost somewhere because we're too busy chasing all the other roles that we're playing, because we're always in the reaction mode at that point.
Where was the first time? Do you have a memory of your first time experiencing burnout? Maybe you didn't even know what it was. And then I'll second that question because we'll want to get into recognition and then eventually remedy. So maybe describe the first time that you experienced it.
I would say, to my the previous memory, I always think that year 40, when you're 39 and you're going to turn 40 soon, is kind of like that magical milestone where you start questioning, oh my God, I'm getting old. And as a woman, it's even more monstrous. And then all of a sudden you realize that I woke up one morning and now I need glasses. Many of us, something happens magically to the eyes around that magical number. And that is probably the first point when you start seeing signs of body changes, is when it triggers that, okay, so what have I done? And then you start looking at, what did I want to do in this life? What do I want to achieve? And you look at that and you see that differential of where you are, where you want to become, and what you want to do, and all sort of things, and sort of a reflection. So the moment you enter in your life, the reflection moment, and I'm saying 40, and that could be because I'm Generation X, I'm seeing that in the younger generations, the Zs, doing that in their 20s. They've started doing it earlier. Hence, I feel they have more stress and anxieties and all these pressure points, because the achieving mechanism has kind of, started way earlier than it used to be in the years after. So I would say about 40 is when I started questioning, and I started looking at that. Okay, I did my master's, I did my MBAs, but I still wanted to do an executive MBA. That is outstanding. I do want to do these things for my kids. I want to achieve this in my professional life. I still want to see the world. I had listed down all the countries I want to see, all the things you want to do in your life, and you start looking at it. And then you feel that in the outward, you look successful. Like when I turned 40, I felt I was successful. People thought she has an amazing life. She's successful in the world. She's doing this. She's doing whatever she wants to. She's raising amazing girls. Her 3 girls are all great. So the life looked perfect in the outside. And then when you start questioning yourself, and you're like, but I have all this laundry list. That was my list that I never touched. I never did it because I was playing all those roles and satisfying those identities that I created than my actual self identity. And I think that was my starting point. It was more awareness that starts the path, that starts your journey on this path, where when you have that awareness and you start watching and you start listening to yourself and you start questioning, and then as you're going in that path is when you realize. And now I feel like burnout is a signal. It is kind of now telling you have overused your body. So going on frequent massage is not going to do it, because it's just a temporary relief. Going to all the other well-being things that we do, yes, they help you, but they're not sustainable, because they're again transactional activities that are giving you a relief. Going out with your family, giving you a temporary relief and happy moments, because your self-identity is in question mark.
How are you now recognizing this? How are you diagnosing or recognizing early symptoms? And then let's get into what have you done and changed, because I've had to do this too, to be able to sustain, because I'm a huge believer. I've been an entrepreneur for 16 years,
Mhm.
3 agencies. And in that time, I've watched 80 to 90% of every founder I've ever met couldn't make it. They didn't sustain the marathon of entrepreneurship. They did a sprint. Some sold a business, became rich. Many of them imploded, went back to the corporate world, and but even the ones that became wealthy, they weren't willing to jump back into that fire again, because they were like, I do not have a mechanism to be able to handle what I just went through. And I believe that I've developed a marathon, an ultra marathon level of sustainability. But I'd love to know from you, how do you recognize it and what do you do about it?
So I think I would put it on 3 stages. Stage one is when you become aware of it. And when you become aware of it, we are all curious George. That's what human brain does. Analytical brain kicks in and we start questioning the moment it's in your awareness. So you're trying to read every damn article that is available in the world. You're talking about it. You're complaining about it, because by the time you have that signal and the awareness, you are actually feeling it. So there is resentment, there is frustration, there is sadness, there is feeling of letdown, there is feeling of tiredness. You are going through a lot of those emotional which have kicked in, which are again the signal of burnout. And so you're trying to unveil and open up all these layers of onion at that point. So that is stage one. Stage two is where you feel that, and that's my experience, is where I felt like, okay, it's all because of time. Okay. So Kiran Mann, you got to go and balance your time. And then you read all these wonderful articles of work and home balance. And you try that and you're like, okay, it's not working. You try to do one, another one goes behind. So you try to do that, still doesn't work. Then I came and thought my secret word is going to be juggle. I will juggle. The moment I did that, one of my own daughter, first of all, told me a week later, she's like, oh, so you're juggling. So today I'm not important enough. I didn't get part of your juggling. And I'm like, oh, it's not going to work either. I'm going to make some people happy and I'm going to make the others unhappy. Okay. I'm still not thinking about myself. I'm just looking at all these other identities outside to make sure these are all working and not giving me burnout. That's part two of my journey. Part three is when I realized there is no way I can balance. There's no way I can juggle. This ain't going to work. I need to give up. And then I learned the word prioritize. Prioritize. So look at the list of 100. And I remember asking one of my mentors one time, and I'm like, what do you do if you have 15 tasks? And he said, but I will not have 15. I'm like, no, what do you do? No, I will not have it. I will only have one or two. And if you have one or two, and I'm like, so what do you do with the remaining 13? And now tomorrow's 13, and then tomorrow. He's like, they will not happen if you try that. So that word was sort of like a starting point for me. And then I started listing down the different things I was doing in all these different roles I was playing. And then I started looking at, do I have to play all these roles? Am I playing because I have to do it? Am I doing because I'm pleasing it? Am I doing it because I just voluntarily said I will do it because nobody was raising their hand? Was I doing it because everybody just expects me to pick it up all the time? And I started identifying the reason why I'm doing that. Or do I not delegate? Do I not think I'm the only one who's going to make it happen? I started questioning it. The more I did it, I noticed it's an identity issue. I have identities that I'm playing, and I am trying to play all these identities to the best of my ability. So first I said, Kiran, you're going to cancel the word perfection. There's ain't any perfection in the world. You're going to do to the best of the ability and be happy with the outcome that you have delivered. Try to do better next time, but be satisfied, which gave me fulfillment. That fulfillment also helped me with not feeling that burnt out. There was satisfaction in everything I was doing. Then I added a new group: myself, me, I. What does myself want? What does me want? What do I want? And I started writing my wants, my wishes, my needs. When my wants and wishes and needs came, I realized I cannot do it. I don't have the time. So I said, if I want to do anything here over 40, what am I taking out of all these other identities and roles that can give me time? So I started playing with the time from that point of view. But then I realized my biggest thing was, even if I said I made an hour, I'm going to go home, take a glass of wine, sit by the fire, I'm going to take my book. Nobody, please leave me alone. I just want to zen it out. I am the first person who's going to feel guilty. Oh my God, I have this to do, this to do, this to do for office, this for this person, this for this person in home. Why am I enjoying a wine at this hour? Right? So the guilt trip is the first. So first you went into those negative emotions of resentments and anger and sadness and all that. Then you start taking a step. The moment you take is guilt trip. And if that wasn't enough and you were still fighting that out internally, there's all the wonderful people that are around you that will make sure you're also guilty. Why? Because they have been habitual to see you in a certain way. They're habitual for you to perform in certain way. If you cooked for them every day, you're expected to cook every day. Now they're going to say, why am I cooking? You cook all the time. What happened to you? You changed, right? So the behavioral change that you're trying to adapt to give yourself some time to rest or to have your mind body balance out so that your soul can jump in to take care of the me, my, myself, and I. Is not going to happen because you're literally going in the business world. I would say we're going through the change management. You try to make a change of something that was structured, rigidly applied, and used by everybody around you, directly or indirectly, that are impacted. The moment you're going to change it, you're going to have a guilt trip and you're going to have external pushback out of it. And if you're able to fight that out, because many will give up, just like you said, like for entrepreneurs, they will give up. It is now a journey to overcome these things to get to that level.
This is fantastic. With the time, usually I would love to keep diving in, but we keep these short episodes. My burnout manifests physically at first through my hips and literally become stiff. And if I don't tackle it within 24, 48 hours, I'll get sciatica. And then I'll literally have what feels like a flu, but it's not an actual flu. It will be stress related. This was fantastic. How do people get a hold of you if they want to learn more? I know that stress is not your day job. You're CEO of a company. But if they wanted to learn more about how you're managing it, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I would say the first place to find me is LinkedIn. That's like a second or a third home for me. I post every day there. And I'm putting together my website. But yes, there is a space, kiranmann.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on Outsource to Profits.
Thank you